Hey, it's Joe Bartel. I'm going over my 3 players I love and hate entering week 4. Jared Goff made my love list last week, and I'm entering scorned, if I'm being honest. I typically try to stay away from quarterbacks when I'm doing this show because the difference between quarterback 8 and 15 is so inconsequential that even if I want a victory lap about it, it doesn't feel right. I do think Jared Goff is outside my top 12 quarterbacks this week, and it's to the point where I might recommend that you could drop him against the Seahawks and then the bye week to come. There's probably a roster scenario in which you'd love to have an extra running back, receiver, or tight end. And I would just say that Jared Goff is probably going to be producing at or around quarterback 15, 16 numbers as he's been throughout the whole season. There will be a point to roster Jared Goff. In fact, I think Ben Johnson is still one of the best coordinators in the NFL. But right now, the Lions are intent and relying on the rushing attack, whether it be David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, or both. That's going to matter fantasy-wise. And I think Devon Witherspoon, slot corner for the Seahawks, is going to do as good as you can to neutralize Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot. We don't know the stats of Sam Laporta. There's just too many situations where I think Jared Goff becomes a clear and obvious play outside the top 12. I might play Sam Darnold over Jared Goff. I'll play Jordan Love if he's able to come back and be healthy. And I might even consider Andy Dalton over Jared Goff this week. Again, not playing Jared Goff, and I'll be fine if you cut him this week, knowing the Lions have a week 5 bye. Up next, among the players I hate, I'm listing it generally, but the Seahawks backfield. I'm recording this on Wednesday. We don't know the stats of Kenneth Walker. He was listed as doubtful last week. I'm assuming right now he won't play. But even in the event that Kenneth Walker is active, the Lions defense has proven to be really good. We watched James Conner, who's been a fantasy relevant running back the past 2 weeks, get completely shut down by the Lions in that week 3 matchup against the Cardinals. And I'm of the opinion that the Cardinals offense is better than Seattle's. I think the environment is going to be raucous in Detroit in Monday. And I wonder if that makes an impact on things too, just overall suppressing the Seahawks total scoring. I think a lot of people were taking Zach Charbonnet early round 9, 10, 11 range with this exact scenario of mind. We're fading the running back, and therefore I'm going to get my injury replacement. So you might not have better options. But if you do, I would be considering a lot of other alternatives. Zach Charbonnet has produced on volume, like my friend Jim Coventry always says, volume is king. But in this situation, I don't think there's going to be a lot of productive volume, and he's going to have to fall into the end zone, which until this point in his career, he's been okay, not great at. It happened last week. I'm willing to bet it won't happen this go around. So whether it be Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet, there's a ton of other flex receivers I'd consider over Zach Charbonnet and to a lesser extent Kenneth Walker. But I'd also rather play Chuba Hubbard and maybe even Najee Harris I'd start with the assumption that Jaylen Warren is not going to be active for the Steelers. So a lot of options to choose from. I think whether it be Zach Charbonnet or Kenneth Walker, I'll be trying to fade both Seahawks running backs if I can. The last of my hate group is not really fair, but it's the truth. It's the guy that's got a Taco Bell store in his house, Davante Adams. Great situation. Would love to have that in my real life. Not for football, though. And I think the comments from Antonio Pierce were really weird. There's no other way to define it. Some people have been saying that Antonio Pierce, who had said after Sunday's loss, embarrassing loss to the Panthers, that players made some business decisions, were inferring that to be Davante Adams. I don't think I really saw that other than the mopiness on the sideline, but whatever the case, that's a pretty bold statement to make for a guy who's a 6-6 record in his entire career, came from high school prior to this point, and has yet to coach a full NFL season. You are a good middle linebacker in the league, but you have not warranted coach status to make a statement like that. And in the event, I think unlikely, the team does rally around that statement with the game plan the Raiders always seem to have. I would imagine that would make the offensive line play better, or Zamir White actually runs well. You know how run-oriented the Raiders are. Why would the rallying cry of Antonio Pierce's comments suddenly make Davante Adams and Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell, whatever they want to do, a better spot? You probably don't have better options to play over Davante Adams, and maybe it's a bold take to say, but just like Jalen Waddle last week when Skylar Thompson was your quarterback, I think you can probably go with a lot of the interesting waiver wire pickups over the past 2 weeks to play over Davante Adams. If you won the Juwan Jennings sweepstakes, good for you. I'll be playing Jennings over Davante Adams. And honestly, if we know about Keenan Allen, if he won't play for the Bears, give me Rome Odunze. Give me Jaden Reed, even if it's Malik Willis playing. That's the scenario we're at. I think the vibes are bad. I think it was a weird statement by Antonio Pierce. And I'm really concerned about what the Raiders will look like in this gross matchup against the Browns on Sunday. If you like this content, please, please, please like this video, subscribe to the RotoWire YouTube channel. And if you like overall what we've been doing, there's a ton of other fantasy content out there. My guy, Jim Coventry, has been crushing it, feels like every day on the YouTube channel. And rotowire.com/try gets you 48-hour access to the site. All right, 3 players that I like this week, and I'm trying to target people that you wouldn't really consider. I think Devin Singletary just fits that his entire career. It always makes me nervous to recommend a Thursday player because there's a long shelf life for this video if Singletary looks bad. And I see you guys in the comments. I know how you can be. But Singletary's got at least 16 carries in each of the past 2 games. We know the run defense of the Cowboys is pretty miserable. And in order for the Giants to have a chance, it's not just Malik Neighbors. You need to limit Daniel Jones from making mistakes. I think Devin Singletary gets a lot of work. You look at that split between Tyrone Tracy, the backup, and Devin Singletary, and it's overwhelmingly in Singletary's favor. He's right around that flex range, and I think at minimum would be somebody I'm considering among my top 24, top 20, even top 18 running backs this week. Sticking in the same position, I also like Chuba Hubbard. You basically only have 1 more week to play him. Jonathan Brooks is eligible to be activated off the PUP list starting week 5. I don't know if the Panthers will, but you'd assume they want to get Brooks on the field sooner rather than later. So this is really your last swan song for Chuba Hubbard. Of course, the Panthers have been so bad the first 2 weeks that you might not capitalize on week 3, but I do think that performance is there. We saw the Bengals get decimated Monday off Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. That run defense has looked horrendous without DJ Reader, who was signed away from them this offseason. I think they're ripe for the taking. Whether you believe Andy Dalton can make that offense efficient and effective passing 2 weeks in a row, that's not the concern for me. I think Chuba Hubbard is going to be a factor no matter what. And again, volume is king. He's going to be there as a runner. He's going to be there as a pass catcher. And the Panthers are going to try to compete. That was the whole reason you switched out of Andy Dalton to begin with, to compete. And I'm excited to see what Chuba Hubbard can do. He is right there with that flex tier of running back range and should certainly be considered, I would say, over a variety of receiver options that you might have for flex. For the final player that I love this week, it sounds wrong, but I really want to get as many shares as I can of the Commanders and Cardinals matchup. Wilson got 9 targets last week after getting a combined 4 in the previous 2 games. Maybe that was game script. Maybe it was just a one-off scenario for the Cardinals offense. It wasn't like Marvin Harrison was locked down by the Lions, and yet Wilson was targeted plenty. I don't know what we're going to have for Trey McBride yet. Again, recording this on Wednesday, we'll have to see what his stats might be. But if McBride misses time, that's even more reason to believe Michael Wilson can thrive in their intermediate level and will be skilled enough to take advantage of those opportunities. We know the Commanders' secondary is awful, whether it be Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. That was one of the safest assumptions that Jamar Chase would go nuclear last Monday. I think Michael Wilson, to a lesser extent, is right there. And even if he's wide receiver 35 or in that range, that's a comfortable flex play in deeper leagues. And I'm doing this video not just for your standard 10-team leagues or friends and family ones, but if you're looking for a shrewd and smart call, Michael Wilson, who's probably widely available in your leagues, is one that I'll pick up and I think could be a spot start against this bad Commander secondary. So that does it. My 3 players I love and hate this week.